incredible was that video? Thank you. You just heard that you were taking on the biggest challenge and opportunity of the 21st century. And we need to do this, you need to do this, you need to deploy at speed and at scale. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to start with Alicia. BHE Renewables currently owns electric power facilities with a combined generation capability of 4,198 megawatts. Just to put that into perspective, a large nuclear plant produces 1,200 megawatts. So that's the amount of 4 large nuclear plants. Talk to us about your mission.
Yes, thank you. So our mission at Berkshire Hathaway Energy is to provide sustainable energy solutions for our customers. That means low price, renewable, and sustainable. And at BHE Renewables, we have the huge opportunity to serve customers all around the U.S., really all around the world, and provide unique solutions like the one you just saw on the screen in West Virginia. And now, at this time of accelerated innovation and opportunity, we have the opportunity to work with people like Mujeeb and Our Next Energy to deliver the solutions to the problems we're facing today and the solutions we need for tomorrow. So just a really exciting opportunity.
And you spoke about the West Virginia microgrid project, which will be, I'll repeat, the world's largest solar and storage microgrid. It will quadruple the number of solar panels in the state of West Virginia. Now, this is going to be run out of a 2,000-acre abandoned Century aluminum plant. So this is coal country, where jobs disappeared. It's where there was an aluminum plant that had 3,000 jobs that disappeared. And now you're talking about this project and saying it's about jobs, growth, community engagement. At the end of the day, it's about renewable energy, a first-of-its-kind microgrid, laying the foundation for economic development and redevelopment. Can you elaborate on that quote and the investment you are making?
Absolutely, I would love to. Jackson County, you got a flavor for it in the video there. It is a very special place, and we have, we're acquiring approximately 2,000-acre site. That Century aluminum plant, or Kaiser Aluminum, previously employed over 3,000 people. And when it closed, there's all those jobs, that entire community was changed. And so the promise of coming in and bringing in new manufacturing industry is very significant, the economic development that we're able to bring. And really at Renewables, at BHE Renewables, we're bringing the energy. We're bringing the renewable energy solution. But what we're really doing is attracting new manufacturing to this area. And so our customer is Precision Cast Parts. They make titanium parts for airplanes and other things. And they'll build an advanced titanium melt shop there, and they'll bring with them 200 jobs, and we'll attract additional industry to the site and make that really an aerospace hub. That's what we can do with renewable energy. We can allow this community, as you said, this quadruples, this solar plant that we'll build on this site will quadruple their number of solar panels in the state. And we're really demonstrating what clean energy can do for an economy like that. So it's not just about our project, but it's about the jobs that we're bringing with Precision Cast Parts and with Our Next Energy, who is also going to locate on the site with another 105 jobs. So we're really demonstrating what's possible when you lead with clean energy.
So that brings us to One Next Energy. Mujeeb, you founded One Next Energy in 2020. So not that long ago. At One, you've developed a lithium iron not ion, phosphate battery made without nickel or cobalt. And so for all of you battery people, you know that without nickel or cobalt, you've reduced the chance of fire. Can you talk to us about your role in the West Virginia microgrid project?
Yes, and first of all, it's really a pleasure to be here with Alicia as the leader of this entire idea to bring about this Renewable Energy Center we got lucky with the opportunity to build our relationship over the past year. And as we were developing a lithium iron phosphate battery technology, we decided that we could go through a process of normalizing the range and energy density by innovating on the system design. And so we're offering more energy in the container with these batteries than are traditionally provided with nickel cobalt chemistries. And that's really been the only drawback with iron phosphate batteries in the past, is their energy density was lower. They had 3 advantages that almost everyone would agree: cost advantage, supply chain advantage, and safety advantage. And the only disadvantage was they didn't have the energy density. And Our Next Energy worked on lifting up that energy density and offering then a very complete solution for that type of microgrid, given the amount of storage that's needed to run that facility 24/7 with renewable energy.
Well, sitting in the Department of Commerce, obviously supply chain resiliency is something we care about greatly. It's something that's important to the future of the country. Can you just address that a little bit?
You know, when we started thinking about our roadmap for chemistry, we read an NREL report that was talking about the green cathodes. What are the battery cathodes of the future? And that took a look at supply chain, it took a look at abundance. Abundance is actually the important topic for cost, because when a material is very abundant, depending on or independent of the market that you're in, you don't have to source to one place and then move materials across the world to create supply chain. You can locally procure materials, and that abundance with iron phosphate is present here in North America. We can effectively mine, buy, and integrate and process all of the battery materials needed for this technology right here in North America. And we thought that was an exciting future, so we decided to center or put our attention to just overcoming the one negative of that technology, which was energy density, and we've been able to now resolve that completely.
Fantastic. You noted that West Virginia is in the top 10% of energy producers. You also said this project is not just about West Virginia. It's about a model for the future. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I think the best parallel to the model that I'm thinking about is cell phones. If you think about landlines and the infrastructure required and the deployment of all of the necessary utility infrastructure, a microgrid is a way to bring about generation, storage, and the operationalizing of 24/7 facilities without necessarily requiring a massive infrastructure of utility scale nearby, that you can independently produce power, deploy it. And if we can replicate that across many regions in rural America and even in congested areas where you need an augmentation to what the grid can do today, as populations grow and you need more capacity, this is a way to bring more capacity as generation, storage being paired together, and then bringing about more renewable energy options by having storage be a part of that.
Fantastic. And you've announced that not only will One Next Energy provide the battery technology for this project, but you decided to build a factory for your grid storage business in West Virginia. So on behalf of all of those of us who are fighting for U.S. jobs, fighting for onshoring of manufacturing, thank you. I have a question for both of you. How important are the new incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act to the success of these projects? And I'm thinking people in the audience probably are wondering how that might apply to them. So why don't we start with you?
The Inflation Reduction Act is hugely significant, and Mujeeb will certainly drill into more of the details on the battery and the manufacturing side. But what it does is it looks at what do we really need in order to transition to clean energy beyond solar and wind and the PTCs and ITCs that we've seen there, but expanding that to storage so we can have the storage catch up to where we are with renewables, and then really focusing and incentivizing companies like Berkshire Hathaway Energy to target communities that can really benefit from the development in these areas, like West Virginia. And so it really drives the investment where it's needed and incentivizes it to be done in the right way. I'll let Mujeeb talk more specifically about some really exciting parts of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, first of all, brilliant legislation in leveling the playing field globally, giving U.S. companies that are at the very early stage of creating manufacturing and supply chain, local supply chain. Because our costs are going to be higher when we haven't achieved scale, we have to compete on a global market. And for a customer like Berkshire Hathaway Energy Renewables to look at Our Next Energy as a viable source, we have to align with the right technology, the right team, and then plans for manufacturing and ability to scale. But importantly, we also have to have the right cost structure because we're competing on a global stage. So what this has done is it creates a way to level the playing field. And in that decade where it's currently offering us the ability to supply at a reduced cost, that's the kind of time scale that we need to not only create cell factories, but then there's this wider ecosystem that gets built around. It's the raw material supply chain. It's all the component suppliers. Think about how Detroit produces automobiles, but then all the suppliers of the parts that go into those automobiles create their factories. And then if we can get raw material supply chain to follow, that's the complete picture that I think Inflation Reduction Act envisioned by giving incentives at very different levels. I think it's a brilliant piece of legislation, was deployed at the right time. It was just timely enough that we could get sourced for business. Our business accelerated. We've now grown in terms of revenue projections by more than 3x from the days before the Inflation Reduction Act were passed. And that's really helping us get investment and then grow our factories.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, as starting a company in 2020, and now you've got this great relationship and great project, that's phenomenal progress. That's definitely speed and scale. Of course, I have to get to patents since I am the director of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Mujeeb, you own 31 U.S. patents in the field of battery technology. And for those of you who were here last year, you may remember that I had the pleasure of announcing a new project where we are accelerating patents in the green technology space at no additional charge. So hopefully you are taking advantage of that if you have not already. Mujeeb, can you tell me about the importance of patenting to what you do?
Yeah. So in order to create our niche in the industry, we have to innovate. And innovation is the backbone, I think, of the United States culture of entrepreneurship. We don't need to simply replicate something. We can go beyond where the industry is in technology, whether it's chemistry, system design, and all of that then on a global scale could become relevant. Protecting that IP is so important. And so we have been able to sort of file and put in place 26 provisional patents since the company started. A lot of that's around a new idea that we have of pairing two different battery technologies together, one that deals with your everyday needs, one that deals with an occasional range extension. As we're doing that and we're patenting, we want to be confident in our ability to compete on a global scale. And if those ideas are relevant for the next decade, if we created something truly differentiated, to not have the speed to protect that IP could threaten us because others could then find ways to work around our ability to enter the market. Patents aren't the only thing. It's also speed. And so it's the combination of our ability to go from idea to market. And if the patents can't keep up with our ability to get to a market, that can threaten our ability to enter with confidence because a lot of customers want indemnification that there's any violations in IP. So we need the speed, and I really appreciate that program that you put in place. That can help us a lot.
Well, and can you explain to the audience, those who may not know, what is a provisional patent application and why did you go that route?
Yeah. So as you file your ideas and you want to go quickly, but you didn't finish the documentation needed for all of the testing and the evidence, you can file a provisional, it gets a date, then you can start feeding it over a course of 6 to 12 months. It's actually a 12-month period. And then you can turn it into the application. But you got the date early, and then you have time to feed it with additional data.
And I'll just note that the price of a provisional is quite low, usually under $100, depending upon the size of the entity. So it's a great thing to do before you get out in stages like this and start talking about your incredible ideas. This project, I'm going to start with you, Alicia, is a clear example of the administration's energy goals to bring renewable energy sources and manufacturing projects to vitalize local economies like West Virginia. What do you recommend to those in the audience whose companies have developed promising clean energy and industrial technologies and are looking to accelerate the development and deployment of their products in commercial markets?
I think the biggest thing is listen and find the need. So in West Virginia, we spent a lot of time, the better part of a year, really listening to local stakeholders and understanding what the problems were and how we could help solve them. And when you're innovating and you're bringing a new solution to market, I think it's really finding what's the driving force behind that. What's the problem that you're going to solve? Because that's how you bring other people in. That's how you get traction with people who see in our example, economic development for a community that really needs it. When you show up with a solution that solves a problem like that, you're able to get legislators, regulators, local community buy-in that really helps you to move faster. And if it's just you with your idea that isn't attached to a problem that you're solving, you don't have that momentum. You can't gain that momentum. You can't get that buy-in, and you might be fighting battle after battle. So really listen, find a problem, and be the solution to that problem.
Mujeeb, thank you.
Yeah, I think that I'll build on that to say that, and I've been working in the space of electrification since the early 90s, and have gone through phases of our country being interested in electrification. The first phase, I would say, was the ZEV mandate, and California wanting to pull electrification forward with some incentives to automakers. But as time has gone on, this has changed from a regulatory discussion into something that looks a lot more like getting back to our industrial revolution roots. Like, we're in a new phase of we want to build things, and we want factories, we want to create jobs, we want to create supply chain. And then we meet a community in West Virginia full of people that are really eager to help. In fact, after our event, we received many business cards from local business leaders saying, my business is doing construction, we'd like to be a part of what you're doing. And another business, my business does a certain kind of machinery that maybe could be helpful. We actually want to now engage the communities around us and not just bring a solution from outside, but organically birth it, because actually that's the strongest route you can create, is when the community gets behind it, and then you create workforce development and not just jobs, but then engagement. And we see that West Virginia has been great, and we hope that there'll be other examples of that similar story playing out as we replicate this idea of renewable energy and storage in many markets.
Well, and that's fantastic. The ability to replicate what you're doing will really have a big impact on the entire country, not just in West Virginia. What will it take for the United States to generate a surge of investment similar to what you are committing to in West Virginia across the entire country? And I'll start with you, Mujeeb, and then move to Alicia.
I would say the IRA is a foundational piece of legislation that is going to be bedrock. But we have to stick to it, because this is a very important topic now. We're not in a 1 to 2 year and then we can just cancel and move on. We have to stick to this agenda. It's going to take time to build supply chain. The world of manufacturing and development of all of this type of technology is not going to happen overnight. So it has to surpass politics, partisanship, and administration. It has to be rooted in a deeper commitment of what's the right thing to do. Where were we when we were building railroads and steel and the earliest parts of the oil industry? That's what we're doing right now. It's that 100-year transition that we're in, and it's so important that we stick to the agendas that are being laid down right now.
Well, and that reminds me, I was at the White House last night, and the president said, this is an inflection point in history. The decisions we make today are going to influence the decades to come. So thank you for the comments on the IRA. That those questions are not meant to be self-serving, since we in government created that, but I appreciate how well it's working. I hope everybody educates themselves on that. For the minute left, can you take us home with the same question?
Yes, and I agree with Mujeeb. It is the IRA has created a very comprehensive roadmap for us to get where we need to go, and it's now letting us run that race and supporting companies like Our Next Energy through that commercialization of these great new technologies. And so the projects that we're taking on, like the West Virginia project that we've been talking about, the IRA is a catalyst for us to get started. We need to know that path is going to be there. And also, as we work with other DOE programs, funding opportunities and things like that, those are going to be critical that those move at the pace of business so that we can continue to move forward. So I agree, it's staying the path and really that we all are able to be agile and move quickly to deliver because the opportunity is definitely now. I agree, it's very much an inflection point.
Wonderful. So I'd love a round of applause for the DOE, for our panelists, and for all of you for all the great work you do. Thank you.